creative technologist writes code. We write functional software. If you look at what's rolling out of the door of advertising agencies these days on the digital side and the traditional side, a lot of it is in the form of software. So, you know, this is all just a couple of examples from some of the work we've done. A lot more of this kind of code being written within advertising agency. This is a block of code that drove a site called Supermodelkins, where you could make a Supermodelkin version of yourself. Here's a block of code. The engine or the brains that drive our cpbgroup.com website, which is a collection of live feeds from YouTube and Twitter. Another one, we did a campaign for the carrots industry, where we positioned carrots to be like baby carrots to be like junk food, and we changed the packaging. And one of the ideas that the creatives and the technologists had was creating a Carrot Crunch powered mobile video game. And so this is a block of code, and this, up here, this shows some of the testing that we did internally to try to detect the sound of that carrot. And the idea is that you play this game, and then you crunch a carrot, and it gives you a power-up. But that just shows, the kinds of thinking and the new disciplines and how they're affecting advertising agents. So we have folks, writing copy. We have folks doing visual design. Now we have a lot of folks making software code. Another key area where the creative technologist plays a lead role is helping to lead strategic and creative thinking for brand utilities and platforms. Edward introduced some of this earlier in the day. More and more we're thinking beyond the banner ad, the campaign microsite, and we're thinking about opportunities to enable brand platforms that live beyond traditional campaign cycles. And if you've been close to the industry, you know that in 2007, one of the sites that Matt Howell led at RGA, Nike Plus, gained a lot of attention at award shows. And what was very significant is that, when I look at that, coming from a technology background, it's a big application, huge database on the back end, very significant application that's designed to live over the long term. And it started to receive a ton of attention in the advertising community. The next year, AKQA released a similar type of platform for Fiat called EcoDrive, where it was tracking your car, enabling social networking around driving behaviors. So what it did is these two campaigns and platforms really introduced this idea of long-term platform and the value that it can offer for brands. We've done a couple of these. We worked on a small piece for Domino's, where we started working with their IT group and learned that for every pizza that's sold through the phone or online, they have 4 key pieces of data. They know when it's ordered, they know when it goes in the oven, they know when it leaves the oven, they know when it leaves the door. And so we came up with this idea of taking that kind of back-end infrastructural IT information and making this consumer-facing so that you can go online, order your pizza, and you can have very detailed information on where your pizza is in the process. And so, not a huge platform, but again, it's just an idea that this is a utility. It's something that lives beyond a traditional campaign cycle, but is becoming a very important part of their marketing mix. And then over the last year, we've been working with Vail and put together, it's a Nike Plus-like program for skiing that puts a social layer on top of the skiing experience. So they have RFID tracking through their passes. They already had that in place, and we built a system on top of that that tracks your vertical footage, the amount of vertical feet that you've skied, and it also awards you with badges and pins so that you can compete with your friends. So this launched this year and has been generating a good amount of buzz for the Vail program. But again, the key here is that the creative technologist plays a very significant role in leading these types of campaigns, and having these capabilities, puts an agency in the position to be able to offer, these services that live beyond traditional campaign cycles. So it's become an important part of our service offering, and I think you're starting to see more traditional agencies move into this space. Another key area where the creative technologist plays a significant role is introducing emerging technology thinking into the creative concepting process. For many years, our toolkit looked like this. It was primarily Flash, HTML, could work with video, could work with databases. These are the core, 4 to 5 technologies that drove most of the thinking in the microsite era. And now it looks like this, and a lot of this has come along just in the last 18 months. Starting to think about mobile and Facebook and Twitter and everything with geolocation. technology in cars, technology with robotics. One of the pieces that got a lot of attention last year at award shows in the advertising space was Chalkbot, which is essentially, twittering to a robot. And, this list gets longer and longer every day, and it opens up tremendous opportunities for us to innovate for our clients and to create new types of interactions and platforms. Another key area that goes along with that slide is that the creative technologist, can help an agency manage complexity and change. All of this change can be intimidating and overwhelming, even for those of us who are very, very close to it. And if you have folks with an in-depth understanding of computer science and IT principles, it makes this complexity a little bit more manageable. So I want to step through just a simple example to show a common pattern that's behind a lot of the technology that we're seeing today in the digital marketing space. But it's just the client-server model, and the idea is that you've got a piece of software on your computer, which is the client. You have a server and then a database associated with that server. And when the client needs a piece of information, it simply makes a request over to the server. If the server needs data, it grabs that data and then returns it to the client. It's just this this request and retrieve and send back process. It's a common pattern in the information technology world. So when you look at a website like Facebook, that's what's going on there. It's just your website. The browser is a client. It's making a request over the web server, grabbing some data, and going back and forth. That's what's happening in the PC environment. So then when mobile comes along, and we've known mobile is coming for about a decade. It's been the next big thing for about a decade. If you're not super close to the space and don't have a foundation in technology, then it can be a little bit overwhelming. You might not be sure how you're going to deal in the mobile environment. But it's really just a different type of client. And so it follows the same patterns and mechanisms as the PC environment. So then the tablet comes along. And how do we start to interact, create tablet content? Again, it's just another type of client device that fits into that pattern. And then as we move into the connected TV space, again, it's just another type of technology that fits into that client-server pattern. So having this deep understanding of technology and these type of technology patterns helps an agency to manage and be comfortable around this change. And it becomes increasingly important because we're seeing very significant change over the last, for sure, the last 6 to 8 months in terms of moving towards the multi-screen environment. For many, many years, it was just we were focused on making content for the PC, the desktop PC and the laptop, where you had a keyboard and a monitor. And a great example of a brand and company that's working across all screens is Pandora. So you see they've blown up in in mobile and the tablet space. They're now in cars. This is a car radio. They're now on just traditional radios that sits on desks. They have actually an interface that works on a refrigerator, and then they're starting to move their way into the interactive TV environment. So more and more, as agencies, we're starting to think about how we work with our clients and brands to enable this cross-screen experience, and having this fundamental understanding of IT and computer software principles makes this much easier to manage. Another key area where the technologist plays a lead role is in building out prototypes. This has become essential in our creative process. So as soon as we have technologists in the concepting process, as soon as we come up with ideas that have momentum, we start to build them out as prototypes. It's very difficult to sell through work to clients on paper or on Photoshop boards or wireframe boards. So we start to build momentum, start to show these clickable prototypes internally. We tweak them, and then it plays a very significant role in helping us sell through ideas. One example that we have is we started working with Domino's a couple of years ago, and they were making a significant push to move towards more online ordering. And at the time, they had a pretty good interface, but it wasn't very immersive, wasn't very visual, and we felt that we could make a much more significant experience if you could actually get closer to the pizza, give people these visuals. And so we started experimenting. One of the creative designers came up with an idea of this circular interface. We weren't sure if that was going to work. If you think about our experiences on the web, we don't deal with a lot of circular interfaces. So very quickly, within 48 hours, we had a prototype working with some of the options. We took this prototype, passed it around to internal folks, and got some feedback. And the learnings were that we think that this could work. So we took that prototype, got it in front of the client, did a little bit more formal usability testing, and eventually turned that into the ordering interface that you now see on Domino's.com, which is driving millions of sales per year. But that's critical, and one of the challenges when I first started at CPB, we worked with a lot of outside digital partners, great digital partners, and we continue to work with outside digital partners. But it's hard to move quickly into moving to prototype. You have to always, ramp up and put together statements of work and get all the legal worked out and all the contracts worked out. So by having programmers, next to creatives, we can move into this prototyping very quickly. I think Tim's going to talk a little bit about this, but there's a lot of talk about, agile development within the advertising environment. And, that's one of the things is, certainly as I move more into the traditional space, which is much more creative-led, you see that, ideas are coming up and changing every day. So again, by having technologists next to creatives, we can be very, very agile. So if a creative wants to change something or try a new idea, we can do that right away and have responses back within 24 or 48 hours. Another key area is, especially as we start thinking more about long-term brand platforms, we're starting to see much more interaction between CMOs and CIOs. And the tech lead or the creative technologist plays a very significant role in bridging that relationship. So we work with Amex, we work with Domino's, and the creative technologist is probably spending as much time with the CIO and folks on the IT side as they are with the marketing folks to make sure that these marketing platforms work within their environment. That's critical. And if you go out there and Google CMICO, you see that there's been this tension, but more and more these disciplines are starting to work more closely together as marketing dollars are being shifted towards technologies that are working within the enterprise environment. And so there's certainly a key role that the creative technologist plays here. And then the last key point in terms of what creative technologist leads is this idea of sparking new ideas through emerging technology research and experimentation. And one of the things I struggled with early on when I came into CPB is that I'd present a lot of ideas like, hey, we could try this and do something really cool with QR codes and mobile. And the response that I would get back immediately from the creative team would be, that's cool, but what's the idea? And every day I would do this. We could try this with this technology. Well, that's cool, but what's the idea? And then there was that area where we struggled, and then the other area we struggled, which is showing folks how it is that technologists are creative. And so what we started doing was just very much encouraging programmers to experiment and to make things and to cast that out to internal teams so people see what can be done and people start to see that what we're doing is creative. And there's a nice quote. You start to get into the kind of the creative hacking space. There's a really great book called Hackers that came out in the 90s. Art, science, and play had merged into the magical activity of programming, with every hacker an omnipotent master of the flow of information within the machine. So we've sort of embraced this creative hacking culture as a means of showing people how we can be creative, and also as a means of showing people what can be done in the technology space. One example of this, we're starting to see more around augmented reality, which is putting a technology layer over the real world. Started seeing more of this around 24, 30 months ago. One of our programmers just wanted to do some experiments, see what he could get going in terms of getting kind of gesture and motion recognition going on with the web camera. And so played around, got some things going, and then just grabbed a mask of the king, the Burger King, and got it to track his face. And he was just doing this just to learn, to experiment, and to try and learn more about augmented reality capabilities. He then broadcast this out to pretty much the whole office. Hey folks, they're trying this stuff out. And what that does is that it helps to educate folks. It shows folks what's going on. And then what happened is some of the folks actually doing some concepting for the Burger King account. We're working on a campaign to show what could be done with on the dollar menu. And one of the creatives came up with this idea, remembering this prototype. This came up with this idea of holding a dollar bill in front of your camera to show what kind of deals could be done, and this is all done through a banner ad. But very simple idea, relatively simple execution, but again, just something that was sparked by the concepting and the experiments being done by a programmer. So I'll show a quick video on that.
In a year of tough economic times, Burger King was looking to launch their new dollar menu, and the King was looking to reteach America the value of a buck. As people came across the Burger King banner,